Have you ever wondered what goes through her mind when you stop reaching out? When the constant texts fade away? When her phone stays quiet, and suddenly your presence is no longer guaranteed? At first, she tells herself she's in control, that you'll come running back like always. But as time moves on, that certainty begins to crack. Doubt sets in. Curiosity grows, and eventually regret creeps in when she realizes the space you've created isn't weakness, it's strength. In this video, we're going to uncover the hidden psychology behind why a woman begins to second-guess her choices when you step back. And more importantly, how a Stoic man uses discipline, composure, and inner calm to turn absence into undeniable power. If you're ready to understand the truth behind her regret, then hit that like button, subscribe, and let's get started. Number 1. The shock of your stillness. She expected noise, anger, pleading, chasing. Instead, she got stillness. Your silence isn't what she pictured. That first moment of shock plants the seed of regret. For a Stoic man, this is discipline in action, choosing composure over chaos. And that's what unsettles her most. You see, many women, when they pull away, expect a script they've seen 1,000 times. The man rushing after them, trying to fix things, showering them with calls and messages. It's predictable. It gives them a sense of control. But when you don't follow that script, when your silence becomes your answer, you flip the entire dynamic upside down. Imagine a woman expecting you to beg her back, but instead you go on with your life, working on your fitness, focusing on your craft, even showing up calmer and more grounded than before. That stillness isn't weakness, it's power. It's like Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In this case, the best response isn't to meet chaos with chaos, but to stand firm, unshaken, and let your silence speak louder than any words could. That's when she starts to feel regret. Not necessarily because she lost you in that moment, but because she realizes she underestimated you. Let me give you an example. Picture two men who go through a breakup. The first one blows up her phone, begs for another chance, promises he'll change. The second one doesn't react at all. He simply accepts her decision, thanks her for the time they shared, and quietly goes about his life. Which man do you think she regrets leaving more? The one who begged confirms her power. The one who stayed silent makes her wonder if she ever had it in the first place. Silence in that way doesn't just withhold words, it plants questions. That's why your stillness shocks her. It creates a gap in her expectations, a silence that forces her to face her own thoughts. And those thoughts don't stay quiet. They echo. Why isn't he chasing me? Did I matter less than I thought? Did he really move on that easily? That shock doesn't fade quickly. It lingers because she has nothing to hold on to. No emotional reaction from you to reassure her. And the more she reflects, the deeper that regret grows. Your silence is not just the absence of noise, it's the presence of strength. It's the discipline of a Stoic man who knows that peace is more powerful than pursuit. And when you hold that frame, brother, you force her to face what she never expected, that losing you might have been her greatest mistake. Now reflect on this for yourself. Have you ever been in a situation where your silence spoke louder than anything you could have said? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Share your experience or simply type "discipline is freedom." If this message resonates with you and if this is hitting home, don't forget to like the video before we move forward, because the next stage will take this even deeper. Number 2. Her ego's first crack. Her pride told her you'd bend, that you'd reach out first, but every day you don't. Her ego takes a hit. At first, she clings to the belief that your silence is temporary, that sooner or later you'll give in to the old pattern of chasing, apologizing, or smoothing things over. But as the hours turn to days and the days into weeks, that belief starts to weaken. She scrolls through her phone expecting a message, checks her notifications at night, and even glances at old conversations just to reassure herself that the connection is still there. And when nothing comes, when all she's met with is silence, her pride begins to crack. That's when regret creeps in. Not because she misses your words, but because she realizes she overestimated her control. Here's what's important to understand. This isn't about trying to hurt her or make her suffer. That kind of revenge is short-sighted, and it shows you're still tethered to her approval. No, this is about showing without saying a word that your peace isn't negotiable. You're not bargaining your dignity for attention. You're not willing to sacrifice your calm for temporary validation. And that alone unsettles her more than any emotional outburst ever could. Stoicism is clear on this. You cannot control her pride, her ego, or her choices. You can only control yourself. Think of Epictetus's wisdom. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By choosing not to react, by refusing to dance to the tune her ego plays, you show her a reality she never prepared for. She thought you were predictable. She thought your emotions were hers to pull like strings. But when you don't respond, when you remain steady, you reveal to her that you are governed by something greater than her expectations, your own self-mastery. Imagine it this way. Two men face the same test. One breaks down quickly, proving her ego right, and the other remains still, detached, focused on his own life. Which one leaves a lasting impression? Which one forces her to sit with her thoughts at night, wondering if she miscalculated? That's the power of discipline. Every day you don't break. Every day you remain silent. Another crack appears in the wall of her pride. And cracks, no matter how small, eventually lead to collapse. So when her ego starts to falter, don't mistake it for victory over her. The real victory is over yourself. Your ability to stay calm, to stay focused, and to prove that your peace of mind cannot be bought, manipulated, or shaken. That, brother, is when her regret begins to deepen. Number 3. The mirror of silence. Your silence becomes a mirror she can't avoid. At first, she thought silence was a weapon she could use against you, a strategy to provoke you into chasing. But when that silence is reflected back at her, when it comes not from a place of spite but from your calm discipline, it transforms into something far more unsettling. Suddenly, she has no noise to drown in, no arguments to point at, no excuses to cling to. Instead, she's left alone with her own thoughts, and that's where regret begins to take shape. Think about it. When you remain quiet, you're not just withholding words. You're creating a space that forces her to reflect. That silence becomes a mirror, one that shows her the reality she's been avoiding. She starts to replay old moments in her mind. Your kindness, your patience, the times you were there when she took it for granted. She wonders, why hasn't he broken? Why hasn't he reached out? Did I matter less than I thought, or did I just underestimate him? These questions don't leave her quickly. They echo. And the more they echo, the more uncomfortable that reflection becomes. This is where Stoicism comes alive in practice. Your silence isn't about controlling her. It's about refusing to let her control you. By staying still, you let the truth reveal itself naturally without you needing to press, explain, or demand recognition. Silence has a way of bringing clarity in ways arguments never could. While she's wrestling with her doubts and memories, you're at peace, centered, moving forward. I'll give you an example. Picture a woman who left, expecting the man to send a flood of late-night texts, but instead she's met with nothing. Weeks pass, and the silence doesn't break. One night, she scrolls through old photos, rereading messages where you supported her, where you listened, where you stood steady when she wavered. In that moment, the silence holds up a mirror she can't escape. It forces her to see the contrast between what she had and what she lost. And that realization stings deeper than any words you could ever say. That's the power of the mirror of silence. It doesn't accuse her. It doesn't beg. It doesn't try to prove anything. It simply reflects. And in that reflection, she finds the truth. Truth that she may regret. Truth that reminds her of what she walked away from. A Stoic man doesn't need to chase answers because the answers reveal themselves in time. Your silence holds the mirror. Her own mind does the rest. Number 4. The weight of time. At first, she felt strong. She told herself the silence meant she was in control, that all she had to do was wait, and eventually you would break. That illusion gave her comfort, like holding on to a shield made of glass. It looked solid, but it wasn't built to last. Because time, unlike pride, doesn't play favorites. Time is the great equalizer. And as Seneca wisely said, time discovers truth. The longer the silence stretches, the more cracks appear in the story she told herself. What once felt like certainty begins to feel like doubt. Think about it. On day 1, her pride reassures her. He'll reach out soon. On day 7, she checks her phone with less confidence. By day 30, she can't ignore the weight that silence has dropped on her shoulders. Each unanswered notification, each quiet morning, without your message, chips away at the image of control she tried so hard to maintain. And here's the part that truly stings for her. Your silence isn't aggressive. It's not punishment. It's simply you choosing your peace over her game. That makes it far more powerful because she can't accuse you of malice. All she sees is discipline, and that discipline leaves her no foothold. This is where the weight of time does its work. Silence on its own is strong, but silence combined with time is unshakable. It doesn't just unsettle her ego, it forces her to face herself. As days turn into weeks, she begins to reflect on the choices that brought her here. She replays her words, her decisions, her assumptions, and without your voice there to soften the edges, the replay feels harsher than she imagined. That's when regret creeps in, not all at once, but little by little with every quiet sunrise where you don't appear. Imagine a woman who walks away from a man certain he'll come back. She spends the first week feeling confident, posting photos, distracting herself with friends. But as weeks pass and his silence doesn't break, the distractions stop working. The nights grow heavier. The laughter fades faster. And suddenly, the silence she once thought was her weapon becomes her prison. That's the truth. Time uncovers her. Pride wasn't as unshakable as she believed. For the Stoic man, this is where wisdom shines. You understand that time isn't your enemy. It's your ally. You don't rush. You don't chase. You simply stand firm, letting the days do the work for you. Her pride may resist for a while, but time is relentless. It strips away illusions. It exposes what's real, and it always reveals who holds true strength. And in the end, brother, the truth she must face is this. Your silence outlasted her pride. That's the weight of time, and it's a burden she never expected to carry. Before we move forward, I want you to reflect on this. Have you ever noticed how silence, when mixed with time, becomes more powerful than any words you could speak? Drop your thoughts in the comments or simply type "silence outlasts pride." And if this message is resonating with you, make sure to hit that like button so more brothers walking this path can find it too. Now let's continue. Number 5. The late night realizations. It's midnight. She scrolls through your old conversations, her finger hovering over the screen, tempted to type something, anything. Maybe just a hi, maybe a long paragraph she's drafted and erased 10 times already. But in the end, she deletes it, staring at the empty text box as regret quietly knocks at her door. That moment when the world is silent and her distractions fade away is when the weight of your absence hits her hardest. She feels the echo of your silence in the emptiness of her phone, and it unsettles her more than she expected. This is the hour when pride loses its armor. During the day, she can mask it with busyness, work, friends, social media posts to prove she's fine. But at night, when her mind is free of noise, the truth shows itself. She replays the laughter you shared, the way you supported her, the comfort of knowing you were just one call away and now nothing, just silence. That's when she starts to wonder if she miscalculated, if perhaps she gave up something more valuable than she realized. These late-night reflections aren't weakness, they're reality creeping in. And reality, unlike ego, cannot be ignored forever. Here's the key. While she wrestles with hesitation, you remain calm, untouched. That's where Stoicism separates you from the noise. A Stoic man doesn't get pulled into her storm of emotions. He doesn't crumble at the thought of being missed or use it as an excuse to seek validation. Instead, he understands what Epictetus taught. No man is free who is not master of himself. By mastering your impulse to reach out, by staying silent. In the face of temptation, you embody freedom. You show her without saying a word that you are unmoved by the highs and lows of her inner battles. Imagine it. She's staring at the phone, debating whether to break the silence. You, on the other hand, are at peace reading a book, training at the gym, building your craft. While her night is restless, yours is steady. That contrast doesn't just reveal your strength. It magnifies her regret. Because deep down she knows she's the one losing sleep while you've chosen calm. And that's the beauty of these late-night realizations. They are not moments you force. There are moments her own mind delivers to her. Your silence becomes the mirror she can't escape, and her regret becomes the story she writes in the quiet hours of the night. For you, brother, the victory isn't in her reaching out. It's in proving to yourself that you can remain steady, disciplined, and free, no matter how loud the storms inside her may grow. Number 6. The social mask slips to friends and family. She pretends she's fine. She laughs at the right moments, posts pictures that signal she's moved on, and tells everyone who asks that she's doing better than ever. On the outside, it looks like she's thriving, like the breakup didn't even scratch her. But silence has a way of peeling back those layers. When she's alone, when the camera is off, when the group chat is quiet, that mask becomes too heavy to hold. And it's in those private hours behind closed doors that your silence presses on her like a weight she can't shake. The truth is, people can fake almost anything for the world. They can fake smiles, fake indifference, even fake happiness. But silence exposes the reality underneath. Every day you remain quiet. You force her to confront what's really there. She can convince her friends that she's free, that she doesn't care, but she can't convince herself. That gap between the story she tells others and the truth she feels in private grows wider with time, and eventually it cracks. That's when regret comes rushing in. Not because of what others think, but because she can't lie to herself anymore. This is where your strength shines without you lifting a finger. By doing nothing, by simply choosing not to react, you let her carry the weight of her own choices. And while she struggles with the conflict between her public image and her private thoughts, you stand firm in your peace. Marcus Aurelius said it clearly. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. She's caught in that trap, caring about appearances while ignoring her deeper feelings. You, on the other hand, break free of it. You don't live for the approval of the crowd, and you certainly don't live for her performance. Your silence, brother, is what makes this unravel. By refusing to chase, you strip away her ability to hide behind appearances. You're not concerned with proving anything to her or to anyone else. You're focused on your own calm, your own path, your own peace. That's the Stoic way. While she exhausts herself trying to hold up an image, you win by doing nothing. Because, in silence, the truth always speaks louder than the mask. And this is the part worth pausing on, brother. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone project strength in public while quietly wrestling with their own reality in private? That gap between appearance and truth is where silence does its deepest work. It's not about punishment. It's about revealing what can't be faked. So before we move forward, I want you to reflect on this idea. Are you living for the outside world or for your own peace? Drop your thoughts in the comments below to let me know you're walking this path with me. Number 7. Her fear of replacement. Now comes the fear. What if your silence means you've moved on? At first, she thought she could handle the distance, that she could sit comfortably in her silence while you chased. But the longer you stay quiet, the more her mind begins to wander. She starts to picture you smiling with someone new, giving your attention to another woman, building memories that no longer include her. And that thought doesn't just sting. It keeps her restless at night, scrolling, checking, and wondering where you are and who you might be with. This fear isn't something you plant. It's something her own pride creates. She assumed she had time, that your silence was just temporary, that you'd eventually circle back. But when you don't, her mind fills in the blanks. Silence is powerful because it leaves space for imagination, and imagination often becomes her worst enemy. The image of you with another woman, even if it's only in her head, hits harder than anything you could say. It's the moment she realizes she isn't the center of your world anymore. And that realization is where regret starts to bloom. Here's what matters most. Her fear is her problem, not yours. You don't owe her reassurance. You don't owe her explanations. A Stoic man understands that he cannot control another person's thoughts, fears, or assumptions. He can only control himself. Epictetus said it best. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Her fear of being replaced isn't about you. It's about the story she's telling herself. And by not feeding into it, by refusing to break your silence to soothe her ego, you free yourself from being tied to her fears. Let me paint the picture. She's lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, imagining you taking someone else out to dinner, laughing the way you once laughed with her. She picks up her phone, tempted to reach out just to see if you'll respond, but she hesitates, because doing so would mean admitting she's losing grip. Meanwhile, you're not plotting or playing games. You're simply living. Maybe you're at the gym. Maybe you're working on your goals. Maybe you're enjoying a quiet evening in peace. And that contrast is what cuts deep. While she's consumed by fear, you're untouched, steady, moving forward. That's the beauty of Stoic discipline. You don't need to announce anything. You don't need to prove anything. Your silence allows her to confront her own insecurities, and her fear of replacement becomes the teacher she never asked for. She learns that by taking you for granted, she created the possibility of losing you to someone else. And while that fear grows louder in her mind, you remain rooted in calm, proving to yourself that real freedom isn't in controlling her fears, it's in refusing to be controlled by them. Number 8. The battle between pride and desire. Inside her, pride says, stay silent. But desire whispers, message him. That inner conflict becomes the battlefield she never expected to face. On one side, her ego demands that she hold the line, that she never be the first to reach out because doing so would feel like surrender. On the other, her longing for your presence, your voice, your energy gnaws at her when the world goes quiet. This push and pull doesn't fade quickly. It intensifies with every day you remain calm, every hour you don't break, and the longer you stay still, the louder that storm grows inside her. You have to understand something here. This battle isn't about you directly. It's about her fight with herself. She thought silence would make her strong, that it would keep her in control. But what she didn't calculate was how powerful your discipline would be. By refusing to react, you remove yourself from the arena entirely, leaving her to wrestle with her pride and desire on her own. And that's where regret is born. Not because of anything you do, but because she realizes that her pride is costing her what she still desires. A Stoic man doesn't need her to break first. He doesn't sit counting the days, waiting for the moment. She folds. His focus isn't on winning a game against her. It's on winning the war within himself. Epictetus taught, no man is free who is not master of himself. That mastery means you can watch the storm of her emotions without stepping into it. You don't need to prove your strength by making her reach out. You prove it by staying rooted in your own peace, regardless of what she does. This is why your silence holds so much weight. It exposes the truth of her inner war. Pride wants to protect her ego. Desire wants to satisfy her heart. But only one can win. And every day you remain unmoved. That tension becomes harder for her to bear. For you, brother, the victory is simple. You don't let her storm pull you in. You choose the higher ground of self-governance. And from that place of strength, you watch as her pride and desire clash louder and louder. Whether she gives in or not, doesn't matter. What matters is that you remain free, steady, and unshaken, while her regret deepens in the silence. Number 9. The illusion of control shatters. She once believed silence gave her control. To her, pulling away was a tactic, a way to hold the upper hand. She thought by withholding her words, her presence, and her affection, she could manipulate the story. You'd be the one unsettled. You'd be the one chasing. You'd be the one proving yourself. And in those early moments, that illusion felt powerful to her. But illusions don't last. The longer you remain unmoved, the more she begins to realize that her silence doesn't control you. It only echoes back to her. That's when the illusion shatters. The truth is, real control doesn't come from silence used as a weapon. It comes from mastery over yourself. When you need nothing, no validation, no reassurance, no explanation, you show a strength she cannot match. While she believed her withdrawal would leave you restless, she finds instead that you are calm, focused, and at peace. And that peace, brother, is far more unsettling than anger or pleading could ever be. It forces her to confront the reality that she doesn't govern your emotions. You do. She thought the power was hers. But the moment you stopped reacting, the moment you chose composure over chaos, the balance shifted. She may have walked away, but you stayed steady. And in that, she's convinced herself that by staying quiet, she's steering the outcome. But as days pass and you remain silent, she starts to question, why isn't he chasing? Why hasn't he broken? Has he already moved on? Suddenly, what was supposed to be her strength becomes her weakness. Her silence doesn't pull you in. It pushes her deeper into her own doubt. Meanwhile, you continue with your life, building your body, sharpening your mind, pursuing your purpose. The contrast is stark. She clings to control through appearances, while you embody control through discipline. That's the victory. Stoicism teaches not through force, not through games, but through self-mastery. You don't need to shout to prove or to play along. By simply needing nothing, by living from your own center, you show her a strength that no amount of ego can compete with. And when that realization hits, when her illusion of control collapses, regret rushes in. She sees clearly that the man she thought she could control is the very man she cannot replace. And this is where I want to pause and turn it over to you. Think about it. How many times in your own life have you seen someone try to control the story with silence only for that silence to backfire? Maybe you've even felt it yourself. The difference between clinging to appearances versus standing rooted in your own calm. That contrast is powerful. So reflect on this. What does real control mean to you? Drop your thoughts in the comments or simply type, "True strength is self-mastery." If you're walking this path, your perspective might be the reminder someone else needs today. Number 10. When curiosity turns to regret, she starts wondering, what are you doing? Who are you with? Why haven't you reached out? At first, it's harmless curiosity, the kind that comes with distance. She tells herself, it's just a passing thought, nothing serious. But as days pass and your silence holds steady, those little questions grow heavier. Curiosity becomes restlessness. Restlessness becomes doubt, and doubt slowly transforms into regret. She begins to realize that your silence is not accidental. It's intentional. And that intention forces her to face the possibility that you've truly let go. This is the shift she never prepared for. She thought you'd be the one stuck wondering about her, replaying memories, checking her socials, waiting for a sign. Instead, the roles have reversed. She's the one staring at the phone, imagining where you are and who you might be with. Every unanswered question cuts a little deeper because silence leaves room for the imagination to run wild. She starts to picture you moving on, smiling with someone else, or maybe not needing anyone at all. And the more she wonders, the more regret creeps in. Regret for underestimating you. Regret for assuming you'd always be there. Regret for letting pride speak louder than her heart. But here's the beauty of it for you. There's no curiosity. You're not lying awake dissecting her choices or following her every move. You've shifted your energy inward toward your own growth. That's the Stoic discipline. In practice, choosing to govern your attention to invest it in what builds you rather than what drains you. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." You're not wasting yours chasing answers you don't need. Instead, you're training your body, sharpening your mind, building your future. This contrast is what makes your silence unforgettable. She's caught in loops of what if while you've broken free of them. She's feeding her curiosity with restless questions while you're feeding your life with progress. And that difference is what turns her curiosity into regret. Because when she finally sees you, whether in person, online, or even just in her imagination, she realizes you didn't crumble. You grew, and that realization lingers long after the silence itself. That's why your silence matters so much, brother. It's not about punishing her. It's about redirecting your energy where it belongs. And when you do, you show her something she didn't expect. A man whose presence grows stronger in absence. A man whose silence carries more weight than her words ever could. That's what makes her regret permanent. Number 11. The return of vulnerability. Eventually, her pride weakens. The wall she built so high, the mask she wore so tightly, begins to crumble under the weight of silence. At first, she told herself she was unshakable, that she didn't need you, that her silence meant control. But silence has a way of stripping away illusions, and as the days stretch on, what once felt like strength now feels like emptiness. That's when the longing creeps in. Not for attention, not for validation, but for the presence she can no longer ignore. And slowly, almost against her will, she considers reaching out. Not because she holds power anymore, but because she feels something she thought she could bury: vulnerability. This moment is crucial because it reveals the deeper truth. Her silence didn't break you, it built you. By staying disciplined, by holding to your peace, you've shown her something words never could. She realizes that while she was busy guarding her pride, you were busy mastering yourself. And mastery has a way of shining through, even in silence. Now, when she thinks of you, she doesn't just remember the man she once knew. She sees a man who chose calm over chaos, patience over desperation, and strength over impulse. That realization turns her silence into a lesson, and her regret into something she cannot hide. But here's the part where many men stumble. When she finally circles back, when her tone softens and her walls lower, it's tempting to gloat, to think, "I won." But a Stoic knows better. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. This is not the time to puff up your ego or rub salt in her wounds. It's the time to observe, to recognize that her return isn't about dominance or submission, but about the truth that silence revealed. She's not reaching out because you chased. She's reaching out because you didn't imagine it. She drafts a message late at night, hesitates, and finally sends, 'Hey, how have you been?' That single line carries more weight than it looks, because it's not just a greeting. It's a quiet admission that her pride couldn't carry the distance. And while she types it with shaky hands, you remain steady, grounded, unmoved by storms inside or outside of her. That's the power of discipline. The return of her vulnerability is not your victory over her. It's proof of your victory over yourself. You didn't crumble. You didn't chase. You stayed rooted in your values. And in doing so, you reminded her, and maybe even yourself, that true strength comes not from conquering others, but from mastering your own mind. So, let me ask you, have you ever experienced a moment where silence revealed more than words ever could? Share your story in the comments or simply type "Discipline is strength" to remind yourself and others that true power begins within. Now, let's move forward. Number 12. The power of choosing peace. In the end, her regret is born from one thing: you valued peace over pursuit. That single choice shifted the entire dynamic. She expected noise, reaction, and chaos. Instead, she meant silence. A silence not born from bitterness or games, but from your decision to protect what matters most, your inner calm. That's why it unsettles her so deeply. She realizes your silence was never about punishing her. It was about preserving yourself. And that's where true strength lives. So many men lose themselves in pursuit. They chase, they beg, they argue, believing that somehow more noise will bring her back. But the more they push, the more they hand over their power. You chose differently. You chose peace. And peace, brother, is not passive. It's powerful. It says, I refuse to be shaken by what I cannot control. I will not surrender my calm for someone else's approval. That's why your silence echoes long after words would fade. Picture it clearly, she told herself. Silence gave her the upper hand. But your stillness, your discipline revealed the opposite. While she was busy playing games of control, you were busy protecting your center. While she relied on pride to guide her, you relied on principle. And the longer you stayed silent, the more undeniable it became that you weren't dependent on her. That independence is what lingers in her mind. It's what makes her wonder why she ever believed you would crumble. Choosing peace isn't about indifference. It's about wisdom. It's about knowing that no amount of chasing can create real respect, and no amount of noise can match the strength of calm. And when she finally feels that truth, when her pride gives way to regret, she sees what she lost. A man who couldn't be controlled because he had already mastered himself. That's the power of choosing peace. And that's why long after the silence has passed, your presence remains unforgettable. And that, brother, is the truth about silence. It isn't emptiness. It's power. It's the choice to protect your peace, to master your emotions, and to let time reveal what words never could. She may have thought she was in control, but your stillness proved otherwise. In the end, it's not about whether she regrets losing you. It's about you proving to yourself that you can stand tall, calm, and unshaken. That's the Stoic path. That's the victory. If this video gave you something to think about, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps more men discover this message. Drop a comment below and share which part hit you the hardest. And don't stop here. The videos on your screen now will take you even deeper into Stoic wisdom in modern relationships. Click one and I'll meet you